For more on the passing of George Steinbrenner, with us now is Marty Appel. Marty was Mr. Steinbrenner's first public relations director when he purchased the Yankees, making him the youngest ever for a major league club. He now runs a major publicity firm with sports broadcasting and publishing clients. Marty, welcome to Bloomberg News. Thanks for coming in on this sad day, and our condolences.
Thank you.
Talk to us about your remembrances of George Steinbrenner. As my partner Julie Hyman mentioned, purchased in 1973 the Yankees from CBS for $10 million. Now it's a $1.5 billion enterprise. This man had so much drive.
Of that $10 million, he probably put up $135,000 or so of his own.
Wow.
It's a remarkable accomplishment. He was only 42 when he bought this team. So you think about the road he took it on. We used to put out a press release at the end of the year congratulating ourselves for drawing 1 million people, and today 4 million. It's like unthinkable where he took this franchise.
I'm curious, you told us in the commercial break that you were there on the day that he came in.
Yes.
I'm curious your impressions of that day, and also then the trajectory that he went on and how he changed or didn't change as he got older and the team got older.
Well, we were delighted when he came because the franchise was just floundering during the CBS years. It just wasn't very dynamic any longer.
And people should know it was pretty bold of Mr. Steinbrenner and the investors to say to CBS, we'll buy this team from you.
He walked into Bill Paley's office, met him for the first time, this 42-year-old guy from Cleveland, and held his own with William Paley, and bought that franchise, and immediately had the look and the sound of a winner. People used to say it was the football mentality, but he wanted to win every single game. And, you know, if you'd win 5 straight and lose the 6th game, you didn't want to be in his presence on that day.
Well, I mean, it's sort of interesting because it's sort of the carrot and stick mentality, because he employed both. I mean, you're talking about the stick mentality, but he threw all kinds of resources to get the team to win and changed baseball as a result.
He totally changed the role of an owner of a sports franchise, created the role, the activist owner, which will only be imitated now. I mean, it was really his creation. And you think about creating his own network, building the new Yankee Stadium when all other efforts had failed. What he did with this franchise was almost unthinkable.
Marty, could I ask about the free agency period? Because
yes,
we were talking in the newsroom earlier. There were a couple of people for whom the free agency is forever linked. Curt Flood, because his case went before the United States Supreme Court and he won and became a free agent. And George Steinbrenner for opening up his checkbook and saying, I will pay whatever it costs to bring the best talent to New York City because New York deserves a winner. And he started that with Catfish Hunter.
Yes, that's true. Now, Flood actually lost that case.
Oh, he did. I apologize.
He did lose that case, but it did kind of open everybody's eyes as to the future. When Hunter signed, that was before free agency, but through a contractual screw-up with Charlie Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's, he was declared a free agent. And when the Yankees signed him, that kind of demonstrated the value of these guys on the open market and rushed free agency, which was decided by an arbitrator.
But a lot of people say that tilted the landscape in favor of teams with more money. Of course, the Yankees can get the best people because they have the most money, and some of your smaller market teams are left in the wilderness. Is that one of those things where the meek don't inherit the baseball landscape?
Well, it is, but it's as old as baseball, really. It's not directly linked to free agency, although that's played a part in it. But the Yankees were always the best team, and the Philadelphia Athletics and the St. Louis Browns were always the worst teams, and it had to do with the wealth of their owners and the size of their market. Today, that's exaggerated even more with the television dollars that come from the larger markets. And George Steinbrenner figured out early on how to play that game to his advantage. Going
forward, do you think that Steinbrenner model will be more dominant? Because you also have this sort of up-and-coming model where there's a really tight focus on statistics and on getting players who are less expensive, but perhaps who have potential.
Yeah, well, that comes from Michael Lewis's book Moneyball, and that's what people cite on that. But the Yankees won last year and kind of reinforced the go out and spend the most money on the biggest free agents, and ultimately you'll be successful. And time has taught us since the advent of free agency in the 70s that that formula will win more often than the other.
Marty, talk to us about the economics of the New York Yankees, particularly as relates to New York City and the South Bronx. What did a strong Yankee franchise mean for that community?
Well, baseball in this city, which goes back over a century, has always been an important part of the culture, the entertainment of New York. Cities are built on things other than apartment buildings. It's what else is out there. They used to say it was a National League town, going back to the days of John McGraw and the New York Giants. And George Steinbrenner was determined to turn that around, and he made it a Yankee town. And that could shift someday, but for a long time now, it's been a New York Yankee town.
But what does having Yankee Stadium in the South Bronx mean for the economy of that neighborhood?
It hasn't meant as much as people would have hoped it would mean. It hasn't brought a lot of additional jobs or income into that segment of the Bronx, but it was a statement that the Bronx is vibrant, the Bronx is part of New York City, we're not leaving New York City, we're not leaving the Bronx.
Where do the Yankees go from here? We've talked about that Steinbrenner's sons are pretty much in charge of the franchise day-to-day running right now. Do they just pretty much continue on with the Steinbrenner legacy and the way that he ran the club?
All indications so far are that the sons will run it as Dad would have, and that the operative word is, what would George do? What would Dad do? We'll see if that changes with the passage of time, but for now, it's been run very much the way he set it in motion back to '73.
Marty, could I ask you in our last 30 seconds just to get off Mr. Steinbrenner for a minute? The Yankee family did suffer another loss with the passing of Bob Shepard on Sunday. What did Mr. Shepard, as the voice of God, as Reggie Jackson called him, what did he mean for the Yankee franchise?
He was the voice of God. As Mel Allen had been the voice of the Yankees as a broadcaster, Bob Shepard was the voice of Yankee Stadium, added to the dignity and the awesomeness of the stadium. And when you heard his voice coming up from the heavens, as it were, over Yankee Stadium, you knew this was the best PA announcer. He was defining the way the role should be done, and you were in the presence of the best.
Two great losses for the Yankee family. Word has it that they'll play Mr. Shepard announcing Derek Jeter tonight at the All-Star Game, a fitting tribute.
Yes.
Marty Appel, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your thoughts on George Steinbrenner and the Yankees. We appreciate it. Thank you
both.